Yo, 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 hello everybody. Welcome back to the Lenko show with the Lenko Bros. I am your host today, and we are going to have a lovely, relaxed conversation. I say relaxed. Sometimes it's always intense, even unintentionally with Alex. It's just the way that he is, I'm afraid. I apologize for that, everyone. Um,
Like, when we were kids and we used to play throw and catch games with each other. We even
yeah,
did it when we were in Wales the other year where we had like a little, the sticky, the Velcro paddle, like catcher's mitt type thing with the tennis ball.
yeah,
That was nice and easy, just dinking it to each other. It very quickly turns into a fairly fast, full throttle, high speed game.
yeah. It very quickly, very quickly. So that could be today. That could be today. We are going to have a relaxed conversation about how we have trained in the past, what we've done for specific competitions and events that we've done, etc. And if we would change things and what we do now and how these things are different based on what we've learned, based on our experiences, based on what we now know. So that's what we're going to go through. We also have a very exciting announcement from Alex today. It's a big secret. And if you're really, really lucky, he's going to let you all in on his big secret. So, how are you doing today, Alex?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I'm just going to spill the beans straight away. So I am actually exceptionally proud of this. Very, very pleased with it. So drum roll. Feel free to. We need a little soundboard. I am now an ambassador for Dry Robe, which it is a pretty big deal for me because actually they've sent me some gear, and not only that, but they've also sent the dog some gear, and I think that's probably the masterstroke on Dry Robe's part. It's like they are doing the deal with me, um, but I know in reality they probably want the dog because he's a better model than I will ever be. So they have sent me a couple of bits of their gear to try and use for my sporting endeavours, and I'll tell you a little bit about how that came about. But yes, they are supporting me with my American football, and I am very much looking forward to working with them, promoting some of their products, forcing it onto you guys. So you will be hearing about it on the podcast on a very frequent basis because it is something that will be used. And I wouldn't want to recommend anything that I wouldn't use myself, whether it's, I mean, we've been through this before, whether it's supplements, whether it's styles of training, nutrition, recipes, all that kind of stuff, even down to the training gear that we use. It's not, I won't recommend it if I haven't had a little play around or an experience with it myself. So, yes, Dry Robe are partnering with us, and very much looking forward to that. So part of the reason this happened was because obviously I played American football. I played like I'm a kicker, which means, and this was actually said in the conversation. So we were having discussions about it, and they said, "Well, we've had a think, and we understand that you spend a lot of time standing around not doing anything." And I was like, "That's me, yes, not just on match days, but in training as well." So keep him warm, keep him fresh, especially in cold environments. Like we're just about to travel out to Sweden this weekend. I'm actually going on the Friday, and then we have a game against Sweden on the Sunday. And then we also have a game against the Germans 6 days later at Butts Park Arena, and it is going to be cold. It always is. It's always miserable. It's always freezing. So I'm going to make sure I've got my dry robe with me, keep myself warm, make sure I'm ready to go as and when required.
Yeah, no, I think it's an impressive feat. I think it's akin to being an ambassador or sponsored by Nike or something like that. It's not like it's kit or a brand that you wouldn't use. Like you do use Dry Robe, and
You
they
know,
are
we could have really done with this when we were doing our advisors to Westminster training.
bloody hell. Don't bring that up.
When we were doing that, we could have definitely used the dry robes then.
You know why it wouldn't have helped? Because actually, no, it would have helped. I was going to make a joke about how we were going under every 20 minutes, but it would help you warm up again. Ladies and gentlemen that are listening, there was one particular morning where, bear in mind, we started the training around December, January time because why not? And I'm pretty sure it was like 3 to 5 degrees out. And it was about 6:15 in the morning. and there's I don't know if it was steam or something coming off the river because it was so cold out. And then we like obviously we were warmer. We got in and we're like, right, let's not fuck about today. Let's get in, get this done, get out. Anyway, 10 minutes later, we're in the water, absolutely freezing. It's still dark. It's not even light in the morning yet. Do you remember that one? And ladies and gentlemen, I could not. I was just in my defense, which there is no defense. The shed that we went to shower in, you might as well have just been pissing down your leg. Like it was just very, very difficult to actually warm yourself up because it was still freezing in there. So my respect goes out to the people that are constantly training like that and constantly doing that and do that all the time. I know you guys might be more used to it, but yeah, that's tough. That's rough. And it was a rough morning for me, I'm afraid.
Days where we got out of the water, we put the boat away, and then straight into the change room, straight into the shower. Like, didn't even bother taking kit off before turning the shower on. Like, you literally stood under the shower, waiting for it to warm up, warm up, warm up, whilst eventually starting to take layers off to try and. Cause it was literally chill to your bones kind of level, wasn't it? Like that was properly cold.
Yeah, and it was a dribbly shower as well. It's not like you had a luxury power shower or anything like that. It was you got trickles and you had to press it every 30 seconds or so. One of them, one of them. So yeah, so yeah, dry robe is a very, very good shout. Maybe we'll have to get back on that endeavor.
Absolutely. I don't think they do it the same as they used to. I think they might have changed the way they do the race. But I definitely like this. This is one of the things I think I'm going to have to start doing more and more extreme stuff. I mean, I'm mainly looking whilst I'm still playing American football. I'm kind of taking that seriously.
Yeah, so it's interesting what you've just touched on. So I think we should hold that there and keep it a little secret because our next podcast, or potentially one after that, one soon, we can go through what we do have planned for next year because I also have some plans.
Oh, what do we have planned for next year? Are we talking what you've got planned for next year?
Oh yeah, there's some plans for next year.
I've not got anything as far as I'm aware.
Okay, well,
So it must be you.
we'll have a chat, we'll have a conversation, then we'll find out. All right. But yeah,
Yeah.
so ladies and gentlemen, next episode, I'm in, obviously. Um, hold on to your seats, there'll be an announcement for us.
You're not even going to spill the beans today.
Oh no, the people have to wait. The people have to wait. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna tell you at the end of an episode, so they have to listen to the whole thing.
You're an
That's what
absolute goon. That is rotten behavior. Rotten behavior.
yes, it is. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna go through the different modalities, methods, principles that we have lived by for training and achieving our fitness goals, how they've changed, what we've learned, what's different, and potentially what we would have changed. What would we do different? I know there's certain things that I would do different, and I know why I would do those things differently. I would just do them different for no reason. So without further ado, Alex,
Mm.
you do you know what? Every time I think about something like this, it makes me think of the time that I was going to say you started training before me. I was going to say about the time you asked me if I wanted to go for a run that time. And I was sat, it was after school. I was sat on the sofa eating my second bag of crisps, watching Mona the Vampire. Ladies and gentlemen, people refer to me as a health freak. I can assure you, I love fats, I love sugars, I love sweets, I love all the good stuff. I was on my second packet of crisps. Alex goes, "Do you want to go for a run?" I say, "Not really." Alex goes, "Come on, you're a footballer now." We both play football. We're in was I? I think I was in primary school. We're like, let's go for a run. It'd be good for you. Then you can come back and sit down again. So we go out for a run and we were running from obviously our house. We said we were going to do a loop to Hazelhurst and back.
I remember this. I actually remember this. You were dead little at the time. You were in primary school, yeah.
So it was, I have to say, probably, well, definitely not the distance I ran, but probably if we ran to Hazelhurst and back, maybe 2 miles was the distance, maybe at a push. Anyway, I didn't run that far.
Okay.
2K, okay, right.
Yeah.
So we set off. And it's more or less, if we'd have run down to the bottom of our road, you just run up one long straight road and then you effectively run up the road that Hazelhurst was on. I remember running for about 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Look, couldn't see Alex anymore. So I turned around, I had a stitch, turned around, went back home, sat down, and by the time Alex came back, I was on my second bag of crisps again. So I'd had 4 packs, 4 packs. Yeah, so that was how it started. Anyway, for you, how did it start? Did you start training at the Woodhay gym? Because that's where I started training.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I just want to say I think it is genuinely looking back, it is genuinely ridiculous how you weren't obese as a kid. It is
I don't
genuine.
know because I did fizz around everywhere. I was running around and playing football all the time and
Well, maybe at school or whatever, but like when you got home, it was literally like you'd sit down, you'd eat your crisps, and then after you'd watch Mona the Vampire or whatever was on, you'd go upstairs to your bedroom and you'd just be on Call of Duty all night. And it was like, when are you doing any additional movement? And that was literally what you did. And I just remember thinking, like, all you're doing is sitting in there, fucking eating and playing on COD. Like, even I get bored on COD. Like, I can play a few games and then that's it. I'm out. Like, maybe an hour at best. And
yeah.
you'd be hour on end. And I'm like, how the hell?
It's true.
And I was fat. I was proper chunky as a kid, I think.
I wouldn't say you were proper chunky.
No, chubby. Chubby.
Well,
Very
I
chubby.
mean, for me, I was at school, I was always active. I was never like, to be fair, even in a 60-minute class, I couldn't sit still for one 60-minute class. I was always up, moving around, doing stuff. And I always like played football on breaks. I'd go into the school gym at dinner times. I did go to the gym 6 times a week. And there was also funny story for everyone out there. Don't know if I think you still lived with us at this point, but where mum disconnected the Ethernet cable and just told us we'd got no Wi-Fi for the best part of about 2 years. So while I was in high school, there was no internet for about 2 years. So, I wasn't playing COD then. I was coming home, watching Veronica Mars. I'd go to the gym, come back, have me tea, put put friends on and go to sleep. It was a simple life. It was a simple life. Yeah. So I was definitely active, and I know same for you as well. Like we were very much those people who were out playing football until. By the way, until I started playing Call of Duty Online, I really did smash that game, everyone. But yeah, it was like 5, 6 times a week. We'd be playing football until bedtime,
Yeah.
like to the point where you'd feel like you'd had a sugar crash or something like that. That's how long, like the sky had started going from light to dark, and your body just started to feel weird.
You'd start going slightly like dizzy and weird, wouldn't you? Yeah. I remember like because we were always pretty busy. We were always active. We'd be like even in our first house that I can kind of remember down at Rippon Avenue, we'd be in the house one day, and even if it was bucketing it down outside, even if it was hammering it down on a weekend, we'd actually get our football kit on, go out into the garden. I'd go in net, and we'd have like it'd be like prison rules football. It'd be like we'd take it in turns of going in net, trying to score goals, or you've got to score five. And I just remember like chucking the ball out to you, and then all of a sudden flying down the garden, which was like slightly downhill towards the bottom, and just launching myself into a slide tackle at you, and you'd have to dodge it. And we did that to each other for hour on hour on hour until we either got bored or someone got in, and it ended up in a little bit of a fight. And then that was when it was like, time to go in. Or if mum noticed that the grass was getting ruined, then that was it. In you come, fellas. But I think one of the biggest things for me as a kid growing up, like I always wanted to be physically fit, strong, competent, like athletic. I always wanted that, but I don't feel like I ever necessarily got the guidance or particularly the opportunity. Like, do you remember when we used to get taken to like kids clubs in a gym on a weekend? I think mum used to work at a health club in Bury, and we'd be in the little kids class studio, and you'd get like this little booklet with like stickers and stuff. And I remember like looking into the main gym, it's like I want to go in there. I don't want to be in here with you messing around with hula hoops and nonsense. Like, get me in there. I want
Yeah.
the proper stuff. Get me on. I want to, like, I want to try a treadmill. Let me have a play. I want to know what it feels like. I want to be a run on it. I want to jump on a row machine. Like, it's one of those things like you see it when you put kids in a gym environment for the first time. I even have it with some of my netballers or the 12 to 15 year olds. If they're in the gym for the first time, when there's any dead time at the end of a session, they just want to jump around. They want to play on everything. They're hanging on the rings. They're trying to do toes to rings. They're messing around, like having a play around on the skier. Like, you want to kind of experiment and try things, but I don't feel like I ever necessarily got the guidance or the opportunity to go and do that. And even in high school, I think it wasn't until, like, obviously year seven, year eight, you kind of get introduced to slightly more intense physical activities, like a bit more athletics. There's a bit more, you're doing your 1500 meters, you're doing your 800 meters, you start maybe doing a little bit of javelin and some of the throwing events and stuff like that. But it was never particularly serious. And then you weren't allowed into the school gym until you were in, I think it was year nine.
Yeah.
And I know I even tried to budget a couple of times and sneak in, like either on my lunch break or sometimes they'd have a competition, which would be like, it was a rowing competition. Do you remember that where you jump on the rower and it was like you had 30 seconds to smash out as much distance as you could, like quick changeover with your partner. They do the same, and you do that in teams, and you were trying to accumulate distance for your house for house points and stuff like that. And it was that kind of stuff. Like I wanted a structure, I wanted a routine, and I wanted to be able to feel like I was progressing and getting fitter and stronger. And I don't think that guidance was ever there in that environment. Even in college, I was kind of reliant on, I'd go to the gym after I'd finished like lessons or lectures or whatever for the day, train in the gym, then go home. Or even on a weekend, it was like, well, I'm not playing football, or I played football yesterday, or if I was at home during the week, it's like, well, I'm going to go for a run. But what do I do? Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to train. I didn't know what type of training to be doing, how fast I should be running, how far to be running. I didn't even know which way to go. Sometimes I was like just making it up as you go along. And I think, I mean, there's a lot to be said. You can make a lot of progress doing that and kind of fumbling through it. But I think probably part of the reason why I do what I do now, and probably why you do what you do as well, is because I didn't like that situation. I didn't want to have to make those mistakes, and I didn't want to have to kind of fudge my way through it and make stuff up myself as I go along. I think I wanted that structure and I wanted that guidance. So that's where obviously I want to try and help other people along with that myself. Now, is it pretty much the same for you, or are you slightly different in that?
I think on similar in a lot of aspects, but there were some key differences for me as well. Like for me, obviously, I was younger than you, and I got a head start over like everyone else my age, really. And that's the way I always see it because you were extremely active, you worked really hard, you were really clever, you were really fast, you were physically capable. And that was like a cheat code for me as a kid. Like I just excelled in all physical things because when I came home, I was against someone who was bigger, stronger, faster, doing it twice as much as everyone else.
Yeah,
So I remember when I first started playing football, I was playing an age group up, wasn't I?
yeah,
And I did that for one, maybe 2 years. And then whenever we went to those sports clubs and things like that, I remember me and you we were just physically so much. This is going to sound awful, everyone, but physically as kids, we were so much more capable than everyone else at everything that we did. And it was kind of capped. And for me, one of my biggest things was whenever we watched the Olympics, and one of my first goals in my head, I was like, I want to be an Olympic athlete. I want to be in the Olympics. That's what I want to do. And I don't think specifically at that age, I don't think I knew I wanted to be a sprinter or I wanted to do hurdles or high jump or something. I think I just wanted the the lifestyle. Like I wanted the rewards that we perceive come with it, but I wanted my life to revolve around just doing sports, training, eating a specific way, your body looks a certain way. Like that's your life. Your life is sports. I didn't have to worry about academics and things like that, at least in my head as a kid. And yeah, I agree. We didn't really get nurtured for that when it got to the stage where we were going and doing these different clubs and going to different things. We were just so much better than everyone else, and it just wasn't stimulating enough or challenging enough. We just wiped the floor with people. I remember, for Christ's sakes, went on a holiday to like Spain somewhere. I remember this isn't quite the same. I remember you winning a pool tournament or something like that. You were like 10 years old.
No,
And it's
that was in Ibiza.
that was in Ibiza.
I'm sure it was. Is that because I think is that where we met Deb and Steve?
Yes.
We were
Yeah.
friends with, like we,
But like it just like the people that
yeah,
we were hyper competitive. We like obviously more so than ever with each other, but that came out to the rest of the world as well. We wanted to compete and we wanted to do sports, and we did, it's not that we wanted to win, we fucking won. Like that's what we were doing as kids. Like, I'm sure you were maybe 10, maybe 12 years old, and you would have pulled tournament against all these adults, probably by sheer will. But that's that, and then we're going out and winning these football tournaments, and
I've got to talk about this. Do you remember the final shot of the tournament? So
no, I don't.
we were playing the game where I don't know what I had no idea what the rules like. Every time you go and play pool, there's like slightly different rules or whatever. But in this particular tournament, when you got onto the black, your opponent got to name the pocket,
Right, okay.
right? And I think they got. Yeah, I think the opponent got to name the pocket. And I remember my first shot on the black, he named the pocket, and it rattled in the jaws at one end of the table, and it rolled across to the other corner and nearly dropped into there. And it rested on the edge of the pocket. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, I had no idea what to do on my next shot. I was thinking, I'm fucked. Like, no idea. So, anyway, pocket stayed the same. So imagine you're looking down the length of the pool table. The black is in the far right hand pocket, literally sitting on the edge towards the corner. And the pocket that he's nominated is the one on the left, just across from it. And I remember looking at it thinking, right, I'm just going to slam this white as hard as I can and just try and clip the edge of it. And honestly, people think I'm making this up. This is deadly serious. This is exactly what happened. Absolutely nailed it. Got it absolutely perfect. The white clipped the black, pinged it off the cushion. It ran across the rail straight into the pocket. And like the cue was all off. I was punching the air, then I got picked up and was like hoisted in it. I was like, that's what. Honestly, this guy was sat there like I think his friends were absolutely murking him because obviously he just lost. But I was going to say, do you remember when we went to summer camps as kids and we did like a lot of the Berry football ones, which were at Woodhay, which were at our local high school. We did a lot of them. I remember walking like we do that. We'd play football all day and then we'd walk home as well. And I remember getting home and like every day my legs were just felt like they were battered. And I remember
Yeah.
being there in bed at night. There was one night I actually got cramp in my quads and hamstrings and my calves in both legs at the same time. I felt my hamstring going. I was like, oh my God. And I'd straighten my leg. And as I straightened my leg, I got cramp in my quad. So I got cramp in my quad and my hamstring in the same leg. And then it happened in the other leg. And I lay there and I was nearly crying on it. I was genuinely nearly crying. I was lying there thinking, oh my God, right, there is literally nothing I can do about this right now. I can't stretch it either way. So I'm just going to lie here and just breathe. And I remember that feeling, not necessarily that feeling in particular, but the feeling of your legs just being exhausted and being completely drained. I absolutely loved that. And obviously, we'd go from those Berry football camps. And then do you remember when we do the more kid friendly summer camps, which were
Yeah.
people that like doing finger paintings and other stuff?
Yeah.
We,
Coloring books.
yeah, and literally, me and you, all we do is we'd be like, right, where's a football? Give us a football, let us go play football. And we just do that
Yeah.
again and again and again. And I think the staff hated it, but we were like, we just want to play football. Just want to play football. Just let us play football. Leave us alone, let us play football. And that was us for a day.
Yeah, it was inhibiting in the sense that with stuff like that, oftentimes, if the weather was not sunny and warm, you didn't get to do it because you weren't able to go outside, which obviously living in the UK where we're at, that's the case the majority of the time. It's like, no, you can't play with a ball inside. So oftentimes we were left there and we have to you have to go and I don't know, play with Play-Doh or some shit like that. So yeah. But no, I think we were very we were obviously going to do something physical. That's what we wanted to do. That's what we veered towards. That's the way it was. And then I think for me, as I got older, I I started. I obviously I played a few different things. I obviously excelled at football comparatively to my age group, and then as I started to get older, it's like, well, the skill differences and difference in speed and things like that, which were my advantages, weren't as apparent. And then obviously I got my injury, and I think I realized that the things that I'd wanted to do were not going to happen. And the only real thing that I could do to stay in touch with still doing sports outside of coaching, which I did not want to do at that stage, because if I was coaching, I just wanted to get involved. Like that was the way that I always saw it. People like, have you ever thought about you could just be a coach? You could just, and it's like, no, I don't want to be a coach. I want to be doing. I've not done all this that I could just tell people how to do it instead of actually doing it myself. And then for me, the gym was a sanctuary. Like, and I'm sure it's the same for most people. For me, that was where I went and hung out with my mates. We were able to actually do something physical and challenging and difficult that wouldn't smash my knee to bits. And I wouldn't say that I trained for health or longevity initially. I definitely didn't. In fact, I recall when I started training at Woodhay, it was because obviously I couldn't play football because my knee was smashed to bits. I couldn't run around and stuff. So I was like, right, well, I'm just going to go inside and train. I used to do, it was a small gym. For anyone who's listening and doesn't know, I'm sure there was a little like pyramid of free weight dumbbells, the little ones that go like 2, 4, 6, 8, then maybe 10, as in obviously they're pairs of. There was a leg extension, a leg curl, a rowing machine. There was a free weight bench that was, I'm pretty sure it was stuck on a decline. I'm pretty sure it was on a decline.
Yeah, there was a deep.
And you could do, yeah, because I remember what I was going to say is I spent most of my time doing leg extensions, leg curls, and decline bench press. That was how I started. And there
The
was also a flat bench as well.
lat pull down.
And there was a squat rack. Oh, lat pull down. I didn't really use that. There was also a squat rack, and I didn't use that either because I recall being laughed out of the gym one day because I didn't know how to do a squat. And people were just like, just sit down like you're sitting on a toilet. Now, I don't know how people sit on a toilet, but it's not how I coach people to do a squat. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I didn't understand it. So I'm sitting down like I would if I were going to sit on a toilet, and they were like, yeah, yeah, but just sit down. It's like, oh, right, just sit down. Oh, okay, sorry, let me try that again. Like,
You know what you need to do now? You need to record an Instagram video of yourself going into the bathroom to squat properly with proper form whilst you sit upon the throne. That's what you
yeah.
because like I guarantee no one sits on the toilet like that. You just plop yourself down and get on with business. No one goes into the bathroom and go, oh, I'm desperate, like pants down, and then all of a sudden, wait, technique. Like, it doesn't happen. We don't do it. No one
I'm
coaches.
certain that my initial response, I think there were two of my mates there slash acquaintances, and then I think it was I won't say the teacher that gave me the coaching cues, but Mr. Garker was there as well. And I'm pretty sure my response was, "Oh, but please, sir, I'm poor. We don't have no toilets where I'm from." Because that was my way of diffusing the situation, make a joke and then leave. So yeah, that was what I did. And there was no structure, like you said. I did decline bench press because that was the heaviest thing that I could do in there. And that's what you do when you're a 14-year-old, 15-year-old guy. And then I did leg presses, sorry, leg extensions and leg curls.
It's a big part of it, though, isn't it? Like you want to feel competent.
Yeah.
You want to do stuff that you're good at. Like it makes.
Yeah.
I think that's like honestly for anyone that's like whether you're a coach or whether you're a youngster or if you're a parent, like whatever your relationship is with this potentially useful practical advice is if you've got a youngster or someone new to a training environment, allow them and enable them the opportunity to do things well. Like create the space for them to go and do something right, lift a lot of weight, feel good about themselves, and then layer in technical learning as well. Like, don't just go, oh, right, well, no, you're not at that phase yet. You're not allowed to bench press. No, no, fuck that. Like, if you want to bench press, go on bench press. Let's do a little bit of bench press, but then let's learn how to do a push up as well. Let's learn how to do a goblet squat. Let's learn how to lunge properly. You can't just go in and for it to be a full blown technical learning, bore the pants off your session every single time. Have an element of fun and stuff that you're good at wired into it as well. I think that's a really good start point. How did you like? What sort of stuff were you doing when you actually started? I know we've probably mentioned about this before. Was it like just the classic, like what you mentioned there? But when you went into a proper gym for the first time outside of school, what were you doing?
Bro sessions. So it would be the t-shirt workout, as it's called, which is I say that I never actually trained like a bro like that. I never did that. I did have muscle specific days because I don't even know why. Actually, I don't even know why I did that because I don't feel like I'd read about it or learned about it anywhere. It's just what we did. So we'd go in and say do all the chest and shoulder exercises, and I mean like all of them. We would just do all of them for like 10, something like that. Um, And then on another day, we'd do all the back exercises. I say we because I didn't do it alone initially when I first went. I was going with Matty. And then another day, we'd do all the leg exercises. And by all the leg exercises, I mean all the leg machines. We weren't doing squats and deadlifts. No one had really like, well, we'd not been exposed to information that tells you about what you can be doing and what you could be doing, what you should be doing. I obviously also had a background of doing a lot of sprinting stuff, and we'd obviously played a lot of football and team sports as well. So I already had, I guess, some good foundations to do stuff and move well. And then yeah, I didn't really do like the big uh let's say compound lifts with barbells. I was doing machine loaded exercises. And it was as simple as for me when I first started, go over to the machine, take a look at it. It it'd have the little picture on the machine. I don't know if you remember these, and it'd show the human body in all its glory. And then the muscles that you're going to use for that exercise would be like a bright red. And you'd be like, oh, tits, doing this one. And then you just give it a go and you'd fuck it up. You'd do it wrong. Absolutely, you would. But it's like we've said time and time again, the first part of getting good at stuff is just go out there and do it to start with. You're not going to be great. So, as long as you're doing something and you find a way to enjoy it, which, I was fortunate enough to go with a couple of mates, and we'd spend like an hour and a half there. Was it a productive workout? If, I was being pressed for time and anything like that, fuck no. We were fucking about. We were probably doing exercises wrong. Like, no, but, looking down the line now, what, 15 years later, 16 years later, it's, led me a long way. And that was the start. And, if I've carried on now and it is the vast majority of my life and I'm willing to do it every day now, then it obviously worked for me. So yeah, it was just experimenting at that initial stage before it develops further. What about you? What were you initially doing? Obviously, if you were already looking for some kind of structure, did you have an idea at that point when you first started of what you were kind of going to be doing, how you're going to do things? Did you just experiment? Did you go with mates?
Just like literally playing around with stuff, trying things. I think I had a little bit of understanding of compound lifts. And in terms of structure for a session at that point, like we're talking about the age of about 15, 16, um, I had a bit of an understanding about the compound lifts and how to structure a session. So post warm up, it'd then be right. I'm going to go and do my big lift, and then I'm going to do all my accessory work and my bodybuilding after that. Because I just thought if I get bigger, if I get more muscular, if I get stronger, I'll be better. Whether that was better as an athlete, better as a human, better as a person, um, I just thought that was going to be my way forward. So I occasionally went with mates, but most of the time, sort of post school or post college, I was kind of I got to the point where I was going on my own quite frequently, and I didn't mind that. I quite liked it as a nice bit of solitude, get on with things, and I've always been okay with being on my own. Like I'm fairly comfortable and confident with doing it. I mean, I wasn't confident as a person um, previously, but if I was left to my own devices, I felt like I could get on with stuff and I would get things done. So yeah, I'd be going in there probably typically, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 8, or, sometimes there were weeks where I just remember trying to do the heaviest thing that I could possibly do on like bench press or squat or not so much deadlifts. And I don't really know why. I don't really know why. Um, Whether it was a space thing, not too sure. But and probably again more of a comfort thing. I was more comfortable with bench pressing, squatting, shoulder pressing, um, and then doing the little accessory stuff off the back of that. But I think the one thing, like looking back now, I really, really wish I'd pursued some more athletic based training with respects to either doing more sprint work because I was fairly quick, you were fast. Um, Again, another good example of us being competitive. Do you remember where were we? It might have been Ibiza again. No, it wasn't Ibiza. It was Mallorca. Sorry, the pool tournament was in Mallorca, and same place. There was like a strip with restaurants and bars and things like that, and then there was a pier that went out, and me and you had a race along the pier. Do you remember? It was pitch.
No.
It was pitch black, and I can't remember why, but we were like, "Fuck it, let's have a race." And we had a sprint, like full on sprint, me and you, along this pier. And I remember there was one point, it kind of like sloped up, and I remember falling, and I cracked my shin on it, and and it properly hurt. I remember I was limping all the way back. I might have even had to have been carried back. Probably against Steve, probably to the rescue with that one, where I was like, okay, that was painful. But we like for no reason, just another great example. We just go and sprint. But certainly, like the one thing that I've started to implement into my training now, more and more as I understand and appreciate plyometrics more and understand sort of like the qualities of elastic tissue and how you can't just consistently try and squat heavier and heavier and heavier to get faster. It doesn't work that way. So that's where I wish I'd had that same understanding and appreciation, which again, I didn't even get that at university. I still didn't have that figured out. Like when I was at university, I was like, right, I'm going to train as hard as possible. It was high volume, high intensity. I think I remember doing at university, I did a program. It was Christian Thibodeau. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but
I thought it was Thibodeau.
Thibodeau works with T Nation. If you're in the training game, you probably heard of him. I did one of his training programs called the Indigo Project, which I absolutely fucking loved. It was like bench press, squat, deadlift, or bench press, squat, shoulder press, or something of those variations, like all three of them. Each day you do like a week where it was 3x6, 4x6, 5x6, and then back to 3x6, or you do 3x8, 4x8, 5x8, and then back to three. So like the volume was changing week on week. And then the accessories that came with it were like it was mint for mass building, putting on size, gaining strength. It was what I wanted, and it was a way that I actually enjoyed training. But then because of the amount of American football that I was playing and the speed work, the plyometrics, and I was just overworking. I was overtraining. There's no other way to do it. That's why I got patella tendonitis in both knees and probably struggled and didn't make the gains that I should have done, which again, this is where now I have more of an appreciation of rest and recovery. And an understanding of high intensity, lower volume will actually result in better progress than high intensity, high volume. So, yeah, I would say very, very different now compared to the way that it used to be.
Yeah, I think I'm very much the same in that sense of like pushing too hard with the gym stuff. It's a tough one because if someone were to ask me, do I regret it? Like, part of me, yes, part of me, no. Because when you're a younger guy, maybe a younger girl as well, but I know for me, I'm going to speak for younger guys because that's what I was. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be like, there's nothing like you in theory, like if I was as know what I know now, I'd go back and I would make sure that I was being as proficient as possible and learning skills, learning patterns, because if you nail those down, your ceiling for opportunity and for growth and for potential obviously expands with that. If you do not optimize what you are doing, you're only ever going to hit that ceiling. So you won't get any better than that. And that was very much what I was doing. I was doing half reps on bench press and things like that. But you know what? Like what I was going to say is, as a young guy, that's what you do. It's not what you have to do, but generally speaking, in the environment you're in with your mates, competitive, you do stuff like that. Like that isn't not normal. Like it's very normal. So, and it took me years of doing that to realize that actually maybe I shouldn't be doing that. So yeah, I spent the longest time doing for a long period I was doing bodybuilding style training specifically, and I was bench pressing an awful lot. I was squatting an awful lot. And again, interestingly, Alex, I neglected the deadlift. I don't know if you saw the post I did last week, maybe early last week, but I neglected the deadlift. And then when the Profit Combine came around, I trained specifically for that. And that was also when I went and did a little stint with the Lancashire Wolverines as well. So I thought, well, power and explosiveness, and I don't need to be able to run further than a mile if I'm doing 6 second heavy intervals or something, whatever. So I was, tuning myself specifically to become very, very strong, very, very powerful, which my body was already pretty much set up for. I did a big deadlift block going into that, did the Profit Games, and I injured myself. I don't know if you remember this. By the way, everyone, I won. But I smashed my lower back to bits. And I remember feeling initially when I woke up, I was like, I thought I was paralyzed from the hips down. Like genuinely, it was bad. And I lay there and I tried to turn and I could move, but it was just like sharp pain through my lower back and going radiating up my spine. I was like, oh no, this isn't good. I eventually managed to move. I managed to sit up, but I couldn't bend down or anything. So I really struggled putting socks on, struggled putting shoes on. And yeah, from that point onwards, I neglected the deadlift for a very, very long time. That was probably maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm.
I've just never really done a lot of deadlifts since. I do deadlifts when I do my Olympic lifting and things like that. But as I put in a post, one of the big things that I think now is actually deadlifts is one of the best things that you can do to help repair. Now, obviously, in that acute phase, when your lower back is, well, I actually don't know what was wrong with it at that stage because I didn't go and get it checked out. I just gave it, if well, actually, it was probably about a month before I was able to do anything like pretty strenuous on it again before I did any squats and stuff. But I just assumed I'd done some kind of tissue damage. I'd not broken anything. I'd obviously not snapped anything. There was no swelling or anything like that. So I was like, it's fine. Something's just probably really, really, really tight and really upset. And yeah, then I just neglected it. I was like, I'm not going to touch deadlifts. Whereas in actual fact, what I've probably been better doing is a lot more deadlifts. Not necessarily, but exactly like you said, monitoring and moderating the intensity and the volume, not trying to go like one rep max, which is what it was in the competition, and actually building that strength back up. I think that would have saved me a lot of time. And then I had the same process with CrossFit. I wanted to learn the skills as fast as possible. one thing for me, Alex, is I went from like as a kid wanting to be an Olympic athlete, and then as I got older, I was like, you know what? So this is post injury. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to become Batman. I want to be like Batman. I want to have the skills, the diverse skills to be able to fight crime if I need to fight crime. And like I want to be built like a superhero. I want to be strong, fast, powerful. It is just all the components of fitness like supercharged. So
Yeah,
obviously, I was going to achieve that, but it was working towards that. And it's very much like what you say. It's about making yourself better, improving skills for not just when you're in the gym, but outside of. I think I touched on this last time, maybe, or I was having this conversation with someone else. It's why I went into CrossFit because I thought I'm going to learn a diverse array of skills. Like walking on my hands, when am I ever going to need that? Probably not, but it's pretty cool. And you got to be pretty strong to do it. I was like, well, I'll learn it. Same for backflips, same for things like that.
right.
And I realized, whilst my initial thought was, if I learn all these things and I get super strong and stuff like that, then I'll be really, really durable outside of CrossFit. But the amount of intensity and the amount of volume going through my body, the second you took me in any physical environment outside of my training for CrossFit, I just fell to pieces. Like I'd play a game of football, my feet and hip flexors would be injured. I'd go rock climbing, I'd injure my shoulder. Like I'd go swimming with my mates, I'd injure my shoulder. And it was just like massive wear and tear from trying to develop and learn these skills. And unfortunately, when you're strong, I say unfortunately when you're strong, that sounds so I'm such a dickhead. But because I'd built this capacity to be strong and muscle my way through things, and my nervous system was absolutely adapted for that, instead of just doing a skill the way it is intended to be done for the human body, I just try and rip through an exercise. And that is the biggest thing that I would change for me. Like I could do all the same things again, or just change that one principle, and I'd be in a much different place now, a better one than I was then in terms of like the way that my body feels and the injuries that I've had and the gains that I'd made in each respective element
Yeah.
as well.
You mean just
Because I was just
be more patient with learning skills rather than going so like hell for leather, full throttle, head first into it, that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's like here's a great example, and but again, this is part of being competitive. I remember when I told you that I'd learned or I was learning how to clean, and I brought you to Total Fitness Preston, and then we were trying to clean 100 kilos. Do you remember that? And you're like, you're learning how to clean. You're now trying to clean 100 kilos. Okay. That's what I was like. That's what I was like.
Yeah.
So,
Um, right then, I think we'll wrap it up there. Unless before we go, do you want to talk us through your training and your goals for next year?
no, we can save that for another time.
No, I just thought you might have forgotten. I'll try and push you on it. I'll tease that out. I'll tease that. Right. Anyway, thanks for listening today, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Um, go and check out Dry Robe. Go to their website and get yourself sorted for some winter gear. Make sure you're ready to get wintered. Go out in the cold, harsh conditions, but then make sure you've got. Okay, go and get yourself a dry robe. Keep it in your car. Whack it on. It's like a little cuddle once you finish.
Have a discount code.
I, stand by. We'll see.
A discount code because I'll get one.
Maybe we'll have a look. I'll try. I'll try and get something sorted. If I do, I'll bang it in the links. But go and check out the website. Go and have a look at what they've got available. Head over to dryrobe.com and get yourself sized up. Make sure it fits. Oh, they've got stuff for dogs too. So if you've got a dog, if you've got a pet that feels the cold, you won't need one for yours. She's a little firm missile, isn't she? So she stays warm as anything anyway. But if you've got a dog that feels the cold, if you like my Doberman, get them a coat that they can wear and put on post exercise, or if you're just mooching about and going for a bit of a potter and a wander about on a freezing cold day, go and get a coat for your dog. Look after your pet. And go look after your partner as well. Go and get him a dry robe.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love it.
That's my dry robe plug for today. I need to work on that. I'll get better at that as we go. I'll practice it.
I thought that was brilliant. Moving, very moving.
But yes, thank you very much for listening. That concludes us for episode 119. In episode 120, Chris may or may not tell us about his training goals for next year. You will have
It'll
to.
be a special birthday edition.
Will it?
What's the day next Wednesday?
No, that's pre birthday.
I mean, it's close. Not, it's the closest we're going to get to your birthday.
It's not far off, is it? It's not far off. Yes, a busy few days coming up. So the next time we sit down and record one of these, we will have just played against Sweden and we'll be getting ready to play against the Germans. So yeah, we're going to need a bit of luck for both those games. Bit of good luck, some well wishes, positive vibes, positive thoughts, focused energy, focused attitude, elite mindset. That's what it's all about. Anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your life until we next speak to you.
I go out.
Chris, any final words?
No, peace, love, and protein.
See you guys.